the animals are coming out of hibernation to hear our Kickstarter Pickstarters for the week of March 18th, 2019.
Root is coming back to Kickstarter from Leader Games with their new expansion, Root: The Underworld. This features two brand new factions, the Corvid Conspiracy and the Great Duchy. Essentially, they are crows and moles, and they have brand new uses like all the other factions in Root. They are entirely asymmetrical. The crows are going to be using sabotage and actually putting new cards of their own into other players' hands, while the moles are going to be working on underground tunnels and political shenanigans as well. In addition to that, it comes with a new double-sided board. There's a mountain map, and there's a map with rivers, more rivers. There have already been maps with rivers, but now even more so. And there's also a bunch of things that are going to be available later at retail, but if you go in on the Kickstarter, they're included with your pledge, such as an entirely new deck of cards that you could swap in and use with the base game. They have new resin pieces, whereas normally you would have marked the different territories as being fox territories or mouse territories or what have you, with just these little cardboard markers. They have nice 3D ones. They also have new separate figures for all the different types of vagabonds that you can play as, all included, even though you're going to have to pay for those later, just for $50. And if you already have the old Root stuff as well, of course you can buy all of it if you don't, but if you do, they have upgrade packs, because, you know, they had some slight rules tweaks and new rule books to streamline things, so you can upgrade all those, just get the new components that you need. There's a lot of stuff in this expansion and in this collection. Root was our game of the year in 2018, so we are very excited about this expansion.
I love the game. I want to play it a lot more, and hopefully we're hoping to get a video out of the first expansion they released.
Yeah.
In one of our expansion videos. And I don't think you mentioned it, but I think I saw on the Kickstarter there's also like you can automate rules, so...
Yes, there's a new thing which is bots, so that's another additional add-on you can get. So if you don't have someone to play a faction, they'll have their own unique board with their own rules, so you can say, oh, there's only 3 of us, let's throw the birds in also, or the cats, or whatever faction that you want. Some very, very cool stuff going on. I'm definitely, for $50 with that expansion plus the included stuff, like I think the value here, if you don't have the base, this is an excellent way to jump in, because it's a really fun game. If you don't have any idea what it is, it's an asymmetrical war game, basically.
We have a video on it.
Yeah, you can check out our review and stuff. But if that's your kind of game at all, I think this is definitely one you want to take a look at. Again, if you're just going in for that expansion, this comes with a bunch of extra stuff, extra cards, all in there for free. Really great value just for $50. It's an excellent game. I don't think you need us to tell you about it because everybody's talking about it. It's going to be around for a while, but more and more content is really exciting to see. So once again, it is Root: The Underworld.
We now leave the Root Underworld to enter the Criminal Underworld. That is the new game from Hutchu Games called Plunderbund. This is a noir setting mixed with high fantasy, so you will be having your own crime families and trying to racketeer and make extortions and whatnot, except with goblins and dragons and enchantresses and wizards, oh my. And what there'll be is a board of the city where there'll actually be black market in sort of certain areas asking for certain products with putting down money tokens, trying to simulate the market that are in real life, and you'll be trying to supply them, and also then after a certain amount of time fighting over territory, and of course scoring points. It also uses deck building, so you'll be able to get better people to help build things, or better enforcers to make suggestions to people on what money they should need for protection. And I just really like the theme. It sounded really fun, and I'm really curious to see how well the marketing mechanics they have in there that they were boasting about really does get that sort of supply and demand feeling. And of course, just the whole idea of territory control with a bit of ogres and goblins. Nothing can go wrong there.
It did. The theme seemed really cool. It kind of reminded me of the Tasty Minstrel game Harbor, in that it's you're dealing with buying and selling goods and fantasy, but less. That one game was less criminal to an extent.
And it did. That one also makes me think more sharing, because it's a lot more about like trying to give and take when one. This one's more, I'm just going to take from you.
I'll take, no give.
And it is deck building, so much more friendlier of, I think, a mechanic for compared to other games going in, and I'm definitely curious to try that out. It goes for $54. This is Plunderbund. If you think this is the bee's knees for you, you might want to check it out.
Glenmore 2 Chronicles is a sequel to Glenmore, the original tile-laying game, which was released in 2010. This one comes with 8 separate mini expansions that you can use as you wish, piecemeal, or combine them all together. But you can also just play it as a standalone base game. Essentially, it's a tile-laying game where each player has their own little area where they're playing tiles too. And the way that you choose your tiles is you'll be moving meeples up and down this track of tiles. And you can move as far as you want, and whichever tile you land on, that's the one you take. But the player who is furthest behind is the person who goes next. So you can kind of make it so it might end up with some players going multiple times in a row, or possibly going just an uneven amount of turns between all players. So there's an interesting layer of strategy there. And then the way that the scoring works also is kind of unique, because at a certain point when you score, you will look at all these different resources that you've acquired from placing tiles, and you'll get points according to how many more resources you have of a type than whoever has the least of that type. So if everybody has 4 and you have 5, that's not worth that much. But if you have 5 and one player only has 1, that's worth a lot more points. Then at the end of the game, you're actually going to lose points if you have many more tiles than the person who has the least amount of tiles. So it's this balance between getting a lot of resources, but you want to keep in mind at the end, you don't want to grow too large and outdo everything. We never played, I don't think we've ever played the original Glenmore.
Not to my knowledge.
But I love the idea that this is, they're all calling it Glenmore 2. It's actually like, it's not like Glenmore, it does have a subtitle, but they're considering this just a full-blown number 2, which is interesting.
I'm really curious to try that whole resource management. It's not as simple. The strategy has to, you literally have to almost U-turn halfway through the game.
Right.
And I've actually seen other games do the sort of whoever's in last goes again. I think Tokaido, I'm mixing up, I think it's that one.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
I always mix up Tokaido and Takanoko.
It's one of those two.
And because I really like that a lot, because it makes this sort of fun positioning sometimes, because either if sometimes you're like, oh, I gotta go up that really far ahead to get that point, whatever I want up ahead, or if you're last, you're like, oh, I'm gonna take my time now.
Yeah, I think Patchwork also has a similar thing where you can, you hang out and just go a bunch of times in a row. Very interesting, and all those different expansions that, I didn't even talk about what they do and the possibilities of combining them. My only complaint is that I think it's a missed opportunity, because they could have called it Glen Even More. Would have been a good name. Anyway, it goes for $67. That's Glenmore 2 Chronicles.
So I'm doubling down on a games with sci-fi mixed with more of a modern twist, as well as deck building mechanics and stuff, with the next game, Crave. This game is actually a 2-player game, where one player takes on the side of humans, the other vampires. It's deck building, but the way it works is there's actually 3 lineups. There's a general market that both sides can buy from, and then there's also a special market for each side. So one side has human-only related cards, the other vampire-only related cards. This I thought was pretty interesting, because it really designs that this is the vampire deck, and you're obviously the vampire cards that only make sense for a vampire to have, vice versa for the human. And also I love the artwork. They show some of the modern sci-fi things like a centaur, but like regular like modern girl upper half with the horse lower half, instead of just being the generic Dungeons and Dragons style. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just do want to get, I think I haven't gotten my fix yet, overloaded of the sort of modern twist that I guess the first thing Shadowrun was the closest thing that we've done.
Yeah,
that's a bit too far, I guess.
Yeah, I would say in this game it's like vampire hipsters.
Yeah, that's the. I was trying to think of that.
They all look like hipsters.
Punk rock hipsters.
I think those two groups would be offended by you conflating the two.
No, I mean all the artwork.
Oh yes, I guess there's different ones.
Yeah,
but I thought this looked cool. I thought the fact that there's 2 asymmetric factions and like you said, each one has their own lineup. I think that's a pretty neat twist. This one seemed kind of cool.
And it helps you really feel like you're playing that side, because like when you play, example, DC deck building game, sure you can get the equipment as Batman, but then you could be like, I have Wonder Woman's lasso.
Right. Yeah, it makes it a little more thematically appropriate, yeah.
But this is also only for $20. It's pretty nice. This is from Black Forest Studios, and once again, it's Crave. Finally, we have one more Kickstarter, which I'm going to start off again because I think I actually missed it last week, but there's still plenty of time for you to back it. It's called Witchcraft. That's 2 separate words from Astrolago Press. This is an RPG supplement for 5th edition, and it's designed to add crafting to your characters. What that pretty much means is that your fighter can now also be a woodsmith or a blacksmith, or your magician, your magic classes can have more of a magic crafting thing to them. The idea is it adds more of a creating element, not really just attacks, but they did add a whole new class of a tradesman, so you can be really focus in on that kind of stuff. I love this kind of thing because I think a lot of games that have these kinds of elements, for example, Monster Hunter, where the things you gather, you can actually craft them or bring to someone to make new things or personalize. It's really cool. I know in our campaign, I still have like a part of a monster, like of a poison tip. I'm really hoping I can get, mess around and make something with. I have no idea if you expected me to
Everything is planned out in my head fully.
But so something like this, I love the idea behind it. They have a whole bunch of artists too, so a lot of cute art with it, but the art cannot carry it alone when it comes to RPG, and I do think the mechanics sound like the kind of stuff I would really love to see in the RPGs. Mm-hmm. And in particular, because they also have like things like cooking and stuff like that, this might be, if you want to do more of a survivalist kind of thing, this seems like something you really want to have. That way you can be like, someone is like, okay, you have to be the cooking role. You have to be the guy who really makes ammo for us if the guy runs out of bows, arrows, not bows.
Either way, you might run out of bows.
So I think it adds so much fun you can add to your campaigns.
Yeah, I saw that they name dropped Kiki's delivery service.
That's what they said. I think inspiration for both the art and stuff, but more of that. I think they called it domestic magic or crafting, which makes sense because I know like first D&D you think like fireballs and doing all that stuff, but the best times in D&D is when you use the magic for silly things.
Yeah,
or like not silly, maybe like domestic, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, you use firebending to make tea or whatever.
Hot leaf juice.
Yeah, hot leaf juice. That's important.
But the digital version starts at 15 with the first physical at 35. There's some other pledges here and there. This is definitely one I think if you're a big role player, you should check out because I think it'll really add some great flavors to your campaign.
There you have it. Those are our picks for the week. Root, I think definitely the biggest one that everybody's excited for. There were a couple other ones on there that maybe people saw that we might have missed. I know there was a game called Exodus that I think had a bunch of support, which was a 4X game, but that just particularly doesn't interest me that much, so that's why I didn't pick that one. But maybe you did, or a different one, and you want to let us know. Please talk to us in those comments down there, or you could find us on Twitter, Facebook, social media, other places. Our website, rollforcrit.com, and we would appreciate your support and feedback.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been Kickstarter Pickstarter.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.